Hello, everybody. Good evening. So it looks like we have Rebecca and possibly John with her, and we have Scott Hummer and anybody else. No. I guess maybe everybody's still over at Gil's live that's going on right now. But I do want to welcome you. Before we get into a little bit of doom and gloom, look at this. I just opened a Reese's, and I said, "Wow, this thing's hard to open." So I started counting the layers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I won't separate it all, but it feels like another 2. Here, I think I'm going to get it. Yeah, 7 of these paper cups for 1 Reese's. That's why it was so stiff. Yay! But that's every once in a while the manufacturing. This uses a puff of air to separate them before they put them on the machine. Anything can almost ruin that little puff of air. So I got 8 pieces of paper for 1 Reese's peanut butter cup tonight. So anyhow, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you. Gosh, we do have some stuff going on in the world, don't we? Little Lone Prepper, good evening. Good to see you. I sure hope. I was texting earlier today with Maggie, who is in Central Florida. They're doing fine, but just keep everybody who subscribes to this channel, who is in the affected area, and that can be from Florida all the way up through North Carolina into West Virginia. Just pray for them, because that is devastating what they're going through. Yeah. Let me see. I saw something. Holly Ivans, good evening. Good to see you. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you. I've got some pain in my pinky toe, and I'm going to go see a surgeon about it Friday. So my right hip, my left toe. Today, I when I went to Silver Sneakers, that's the an hour's worth of exercise for seniors, and we work on both strength as well as a little bit of conditioning and a little bit of what do you call that? Stamina. There we go. We work on stamina as well. So an hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday is all stability. So try to keep up with that stuff. 72, you've got to take care of yourself. And the bad thing is I have to make up for all the time I didn't. After I left the Army, I promised myself I wouldn't do that anymore. But now I'm back into it. Because I think it's going to be really important that we have some strength and endurance and take care of our bodies and be strong with what's coming. And it's coming from a lot of different directions at the same time. So we just have to be very, very cautious and on our toes and aware of it. Oh, wow. So Little Lone Prepper got power about an hour ago. That's great that you've got it back. I'm sorry that you had to lose it for a little bit of time, but we are very, very happy that you've got it back. I saw a convoy of line workers leaving our area going east. So I imagine that they're going to help out. I have been asked if I still have my trailer, if I still have my emergency response food service trailer. No, I don't. I sold it 8 years ago. But anyhow, they're desperate for people to go help in that area. I also got a email from a pastor in a church in North Carolina asking if I could help with donations or volunteer my time to help with debris removal and truck and everything else. No, I can't. I'm just past that point. I'm at the point where even my gloves are worn out. So that's just the way it is. Yeah, Little Lone Pepper, that's what I have heard. My best friend from the Army lives just east of Asheville. He got out. He and I both went to Indonesian language school together. And he got out and he went to work for the railroad company as an engineer. And he was originally from Smithfield, North Carolina. We used to stop in Rocky Mountain. They had best barbecue at this one joint. And then we'd go down and spend time at his house. That was when he and I were working at NSA together. we would drive down on the weekends from Fort Meade, Maryland, down to Smithfield, North Carolina, and those were some pretty good times back in the early 70s. Do they still have ABC stores in North Carolina? Is that still how they handle liquor sales? That was, I thought that was kind of weird. State controlled liquor, but then again, Kansas did the same thing. Hello, Shenanigans. Welcome. Good to see you. I hope things are safe on your end as well. Yes, and I've just finished asking for that, so you're on top of the game. Thank you so much for being there. So let's what are some of the things that are going on? We had a major incursion by Israel into Yemen, taking out the Houthis. We've got incursion by Israel into Syria, taking out some of Hezbollah. They did take out some more Hezbollah and Hamas leaders. I tell you what, I am really, I am extremely militarily impressed with what the Israelis are doing. The latest one. So first they started out with the pagers, and then after the pagers they did these Baofangs and things like that. Then they did solar panels, and so most recently they had a standoff glide bomber. That basically they were able to geolocate where this guy was that they wanted to get rid of. And the way they did it was he did a live, they announced he was going to be on live television from his apartment. So what happened was he got on the live transmission, and so they flew a whole bunch of Israeli jets over Mach 1, over the speed of sound. And then by hearing the jets breaking the sound barrier and the time distance to that microphone, and knowing the paths of all the different fighters that were flying at Mach 1 plus over southern Lebanon, they were able to triangulate using sonic booms off of jets where he was located and then put a JDAM on top of him. The Israelis militarily continue to impress me. I can't believe some of the things that they are coming up with that are just unbelievable. But we've got that. We've got the possible East Coast and Gulf Coast strike by the dock workers happening as early as tomorrow. And my biggest fear about that is how it's going to affect oil, because remember, we are no longer really producing any oil internal to the U.S. That stopped about just under 4 years ago. That was on day one that we stopped domestic production of oil and started our dependence upon foreign oil. So if we don't have oil coming in at the docks, we're going to run out of gasoline here pretty soon. That's the big scary one for me. Here's one. Did you know that all of the chips, all the crystals for the chips that run the microprocessors and everything else come from one mine in North Carolina, and that mine has been flooded by Hurricane Helene. So, there may be a shortage in computer microchip production here in the very near future as well because of Hurricane Helene. I think I said hi to Scott Hummer. I hope so. But anyhow, hello, Sumi, and Sumi as well. But just all kinds of things going on. And, we are now less than 45 days away, 47 days, 38 days, 39 days, 40 days away from the election. I'm afraid of how that's going to happen either way. I think I told some of you in my ham radio class, so I'm working to upgrade my ham license. We have a guy who's a contact and a fairly reliable source. And he said that his sources told him to be cautious for the next 10 days, that there may be some sleeper cells who will try to celebrate the anniversary of the October 7th invasion of Israel, and they may try to do that here in the United States. Now then, we also have the domestic people in support of them who are going to, peacefully riot on October 7th in memory of that event, trying to sue for peace and everything else. So we have threats, both foreign and domestic, that we have to be concerned about. We've also got a lot of cartel versus cartel action going on. That is, just a lot of strange stuff going on. Really weird stuff. So please be cautious, keep your heads up and everything else. So let's get into the last couple of lists in this book. Next week, we do want to start working on this book. Now, remember, there's nothing I'm going to be doing tomorrow night. I do have to verify whether or not we're going to start our Wednesday night on this coming Wednesday. I do know that the following 2 Wednesdays, I'll be in. Is it the following 2 Wednesdays or the following 2 Tuesdays? Got to check my calendar. I have instructor certification for my Getting Ahead and Just Getting By World. I'll be a facilitator for that, trying to help people who are in poverty gain some skills to get them out of poverty. So that's what I'm doing instead of this on Tuesday nights, but I'm not sure when the instructor certification is. So the last 2 lists here, and I do have 1 or 2 show and tell items. First off, we're going to take a look at. First off, we're going to find my reading glasses. No, there they are. At my age, believe it or not, I'm now going to need trifocals. Distance, then kind of near, and then reading. So unbelievable. So we want to talk about security, firearms list, making sure that you have, pew-pews and freedom seats for those. Make sure that you have eye and ear protection. One of the things that you really want to do, I have hearing loss, and it's primarily from firing in the military. Even though we use the ear protection whenever we could, there are some instances where you just can't put ear protection in. And having an explosion that close to your ears does damage to your ears. I have a constant ringing. It's called, I've heard one doctor call it tinnitus. Another doctor calls it tinnitus. But it's from having constant explosions around your ears in the military. And so you have this ringing. It's a high-pitched whine that's in stereo between your ears, and it actually goes back into your head. We try to mitigate a little bit of that with some black noise when I go to sleep, although I have found out that if I turn my TV to channel 929 and listen to 70s light rock music, that kind of lessens the noise in my head. No, it's not one of those noises. It's actually, it is a disease caused by having explosions too close to your ears on a constant basis. And believe it or not, this is a good one. You can tell my wife because I tell her all the time. The frequency loss that I have is most commonly associated with that of the female voice. So when she says, "Are you listening?" I can legally show her a piece of paper and say, "Huh? What did you say?" But anyhow, okay. So eye and ear protection. Sumi has it as well. Let me see. That's off. I hope you didn't lose this. Okay. Utah Mike, good evening. Good to see you. Cats and Prepping, good to see you as well. We're getting people coming in now. Okay, so then the next one is make sure you have cleaning equipment, carrying cases. I probably need to pick up more, and because I have such a variety of calibers and everything else. There was a while there where I was picking up I think it's 250 for most calibers and 100 for shotguns. Plastic envelope, plastic packet of patches for cleaning. I have picks, I have brushes. I probably have a gallon of cleaning fluid. I probably in various bottles. I like Impro is my favorite cleaning fluid. I probably have a gallon of Rem oil, Remington oil for my weapons. So, make sure you have plenty of that stuff. I hope I don't use it, to be honest with you. I hope that it rots away and I never have to use it. But, I've got I've got it if I need it. Gunsmithing tools, I can't gunsmith, but we do have a gunsmith in the group, so that's okay. Targets, target frames for practicing. The range I go to, they provide all that, so that's fine. Each should have at least 6 top quality, full capacity spare magazines. Yes, and so here's. Now, I'm not going to tell you this is the right way. I'm not going to tell you this is the wrong way. If you talk to 3 people, you're going to get 5 opinions, okay? The way I look at it is we kept our magazines loaded in the Army, and if it's good enough for the Army, it's good enough for me in private life. But I keep, for example, in a 20-round magazine, I'll keep 19 rounds in it, just 1 round short of that 20th round. So that I'm not putting all the pressure on that magazine. Now in the Army, we kept 20 rounds in a 20-round magazine because they came in 10-round clips, stripper clips. And so we had a spoon that fit into the magazine that you could put the stripper clip on top of it, just take your palm and push down. And you had, boom, 10 rounds were loaded into the magazine. 2 of those stripper clips full, and you had 20 rounds in your magazine. So that was, so that was why we kept 20 all the time. 8 magazines. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with and support that. The other thing is I bought one of, I think I have one right here in this my pin jar right here. Yeah, here we go. So this is Pin and Gear makes it. This is a silver paint stick, and it's got, the felt tip on it. So what I do is on all of my magazines, on the bottom of my magazine, I write what that magazine belongs to, so that if I grab one and I take a look at it, I know immediately, if I don't know them already by the shape and context and everything else, or looking at the round on top. If I look at the bottom, I know automatically which weapon that goes to. So, I paint the bottoms of my magazines so I can identify which one it goes to. Let me see. Oh no, that's terrible. Yes, and now for those that, when we talk about speed loaders, I'm not sure if this is what Utah Mike's talking about. I think he's referring to the spoon and stripper clip that the military rounds come in. There's also something called a speed loader for a revolver, and the police officers used to carry it. It's a round thing, and you put 6 rounds in it, and it's got this big silver knob out here, so that if you have a revolver and you expend all 6 rounds, then you open it, dump your 6 empty rounds, then you can take the speed loader and put it directly over those 6 empty chambers, push that silver thing, and it loads all 6 and releases all 6 of those rounds into your revolver. So that's a quick way of reloading a revolver if you want to stick with the revolver. That was my old 357 Smith & Wesson models. No, Ruger Security 6. Ruger Security 6. Let me see. Okay, so that pretty much completes what he said about that. And since we're on the subject of security, I want to kind of reinforce this a little bit. You don't have to have firearms to have security. This is a steel. It's called the Brooklyn Smasher. It's made by Cold Steel. I keep this by the front door. Okay. Now it's a very short thing. It's just barely over 24 inches. So you can use it as a push. You can use it as a striker. You can use it for all kinds of different things. If you know how to use it, if you've trained how to use these, then this is a fantastic little weapon. What I don't like about it, it's extremely sturdy. I do like that. But because it's extremely sturdy, it's a little bit on the heavy side. So for an old guy like me, it's a little bit unwieldy because of its weight. So you might want to go with something like an Eskrima stick, which is basically the same thing. It's just a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller. It's a lot easier to use. You can use it to push. You can butt stroke somebody with it. You can do all kinds of different things with it. That's called Eskrima. That's basically Philippine stick fighting, which is a fantastic martial art. I strongly recommend it. what's his name? The doctor, uh, Goshen, Goshen Prepping. He is a black belt and a competitive black belt in bow. And bow is the Japanese word for staff. So it's basically a 48-inch oak ash staff. Used to be a walking staff, and they train you how to spin that and how to strike with it and everything else. Fantastic self-defense tool. Once again, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be more damage to you than it is to the other guy. The one that I study, and this is where my studying is this is American cane fighting. So my cane, this is considered and I need it anyway to walk, but this is considered a medical device, so I can take it on an airplane. But if you take a look at it real close, this is not round. This is actually decagonal. So there are 10 sides to it, okay? So it has these little sharp ridges for hitting. Notice down here, it doesn't have the rubber cap like a normal walking cane. It has a hard plastic cap so that you can use it for striking. And then at the end, the crook, I should get an actual cane, one of the typical canes. The crook on a normal cane that you use for walking is not going to be as open as this. It's open enough to where I can spin it. I can maneuver it. I can get into different positions with it. I can do all kinds of different things with it. And then the end here, if you notice, on most canes, that's flat when you get down here. Here it has a sharp point. And so that sharp point is so you can basically grapple with somebody. It's a grappling hook. And you can do some neck and back damage with that hook. But if you're old like I am and you need a cane anyway, why not take American cane fighting? And so those are some other options you might want to consider for close-in stuff that is not going to be lethal force to the extent that a firearm would be. So I just want to give you some options there to think about. I don't recommend knife fighting. Too easy, especially for me. Okay, I don't recommend knife fighting for me simply because there is some strength and some agility that's required in order to be an effective person doing that. And I just don't have those skills. I don't have the strength or the agility anymore. Now, 30, 40 years ago, absolutely. I would have loved to have taken a knife fighting class, but that's ancient history now. That's back. I think about the time I should have studied knife fighting was probably when they came out with the printing press. But, I'm too late now. Let me see. Prepper for the Ages. Good evening. Welcome. Glad to see you. Just gave mom her antibiotics. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Clarity Jane. Good evening. Good to see you as well. Muskoka Oma. Wow. Hey, Muskoka Oma, how are things going for you up there? Are you in the danger zone as far as all of this wet, or did you barely escape that? How are things up there in your area? I know that Eastern Tennessee and Western North Carolina really got damaged, and so as it moves up from that area, it seems as if where you are in West Virginia would be a logical progression of that. So I hope you didn't get hit very hard. You've had it from both ends, haven't you? West Coast and East Coast properties. Both. Just that's not great. Let me see. Prepper for the Ages. Good evening. Welcome. Oh yeah, I said that. Okay, great. And Clarity Jean. Laura Mannion. Good evening. Let me see. I already said hi to Holly Ivans and Little Lone Prepper. Yeah, I was taking a look. They had on TV, on the news, they showed a power line group. It was three bucket trucks, and they were having a hard time getting down the road. They actually had to start trimming the fallen trees so that they could get past them on one half of the road. I noticed that there was a convoy leaving our area. Now, up the road, okay, I'm fairly close to the Texas Electric Cooperatives. And so that's the yard where all of our transformers and poles and wire and everything else is stored. And I saw a convoy of poles and generators leaving Tico and going east. So I would imagine that that's stuff going to help the people there that were donating. They may charge them. I don't know. Kaylin, hello. Good evening. Let me see here. Okay, so just a little bit. I'm so glad that you didn't have to worry about two different calamities, disasters striking, but you've been able to, prayers work great. You've been able to survive, or that's the wrong word. You have been able to endure two without any major damage. So that is phenomenal. Oh, wow. So Verizon is down, according to Caitlin, for several states. Yeah, sometimes what happens is when you have a node go down, and then other nodes automatically try to pick up for that node, they can get overwhelmed. And if one of them burns down, it's a domino effect throughout the entire system, because nodes are trying to assume the responsibility of another down node, and it causes them to overwork themselves. So yeah, that can be terrible. Hello, Michelle. Good evening. Welcome. Yeah, they say that this is probably going to end up being one of the worst hurricanes in financially, in destruction, and everything else in U.S. history. So, we've got to take care of those people. Helen turned 70 Wednesday. So Clarity Jane, so I snuck over. I almost got caught. Oh, I almost got caught. Some friends at Silver Sneakers. And I said, hey, Wednesday, which is our next Silver Sneakers, is Helen's birthday. So can I give you all some money? And will you go to the grocery store and get some cookies or some cupcakes or something and bring them in? Because, she and I ride together to Silver Sneakers, so I can't do it. So I need for you all to go get them and bring them in, and then we'll have a surprise birthday party for her at Silver Sneakers. And so we were getting this all planned out. And one of them said, how old will she be? I said, she'll be 70. And just as I said that, Helen walked up, because we were doing a walk around the gym. And she says, who will be 70? And thank God that Vicky said, oh, the lady I'm sitting with, she's got a birthday coming up about the middle of the month, and she's complaining that she's going to be 70. So we kind of got it covered a little bit, I hope. And then she ran out. She had to run out to the bathroom immediately after Silver Sneakers. So she was quick to get out of the classroom. Well, that gave me time to talk to the instructor. So now the instructor is in on it as well, so that the whole group, and there's probably about 60 of us that show up for this training in the gym. The whole group's going to sing happy birthday to her Wednesday. So hopefully I won't be in any trouble over that. Kaylin says that Iowa line crews are in Ohio and other states helping out with the disaster. Absolutely. And so what I did when I had my disaster response crew was I would go out and serve food and other things and amenities to basically those crews who were taking care of the population, as well as what they call cat adjusters. So all of the major insurance companies have adjusters who will take their travel trailers and everything, park their travel trailer in an area where FEMA will provide them with a generator and everything else. And then they will go out and start doing their insurance adjustment based off of that little location where we have a centralized location. So in that centralized location, we have companies like Cisco Foods and the other major food companies. They'll bring food into me I'll get a 40-foot trailer, freezer trailer, and 1/3 of it will be frozen, and 1/3 will be cool, and 1/3 will be canned goods and things like that. But they'll bring me in a 40-foot trailer about every 3 to 4 days. And then I would cook that for the people there. And the one thing that we could not keep in stock was coffee. I mean, and that's why, you'll see me adding coffee to my preps here because I know how coffee goes. In a disaster area, people just want coffee all the time. Coffee, sugar, and creamer. Coffee cups, disposable coffee cups is another thing that in a disaster area, you just can't keep in stock. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting, and I should show you, do I? No, I don't see it. I bought some of those metal cups that are kind of ceramic metal. And then I take a Sharpie and I would write people's names on that. And then I made a hook board for the front of the trailer. And then I put a little name up there so that they could hang their own coffee cup up on the hook board. And if they didn't have their own coffee cup, they couldn't get the coffee. So I saved a little bit of money on disposable cups. Let me see. 16 feet of snow a few years back. Many in my town were not prepared. It was terrible and annoying. Just like the ice storms. We've had 2 major ice storms here in Central Texas. We had a major hailstorm that's what totaled my car. Let me see if I can't close down a couple things because it looks like I'm starting to freeze a little bit. I want to close down a couple programs. Well, of course, because everything is kind of slow in responding, I closed down a YouTube link and it also closed down StreamYard. So I'm back. Okay, so where are we? Where were we? Yeah, stack up on coffee. And Holly has a very good a piece of advice. Coffee is going to go up. It's going to go up because the crop is failing. It's going to go up because we aren't going to have. Remember that Ecuador, Guatemala, and Brazil are probably 3 of our major coffee producers. Of course, the other one being Indonesia. That'll come in on the West Coast, no problem. German coffees and all these different things, Dewar's, Jacobs, all those German coffees are going to have a hard time coming in because we aren't going to have any ships coming in. Same thing with most of those from South America come into the Gulf. So both of those are going to be on strike. So get what coffee you can now, because I have a feeling that if the strike lasts for any length of time, coffee is going to be a precious commodity. Yep, I did. I pushed up here. I tried to close YouTube and it didn't. So I pushed it again. Well, what happens is once YouTube closed, then the computer said, what's there now? And what's there now was StreamYard. So, oh, well, as they say in Russia, Govno является, or as they say in German, Scheiße stimmt, or as we say in Spanish, Mira pasada, or Indonesian, what is it? Gosh, what is it in the Indonesian? I forget. Oh, well. Oh, well. Poo-poo happens. I think this is going to be one of those things that is a defining moment in our country. I think that we're going to have an awful lot of people who are going to be extremely disappointed because of the lack of ability of our government to take care of them. Yeah, I agree with you, Muskoka Oma. This Apple mouse that is wireless is Not my favorite thing on the face of the earth. But I think that people are going to be very disappointed in the fact that they're going to be living basically like in a third world country for quite a while. The other problem is we're seeing a major financial problem with a lot of the insurance companies who aren't going to honor insurance contracts on homes that were people have been paying for the insurance for years. I read an article today about a guy in Florida. His home still isn't repaired from the last time it was injured. What do you call it? Not injured, but well, you know what I mean. 3 years ago, and it still has holes in the roof and everything else, and the insurance company still hasn't come through on the payment on that one. And so now, he's even got further destruction to his home. So just, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yes. So here's the key. Number one, store instant. It'll basically last forever. Okay. If you can't store instant, number two is store beans. Okay. They've been roasted. They're in a vacuum sealed package. Get those. And then they don't last as long as instant, but they last longer than ground. And then you can grind them yourself. My mother-in-law gave me a hand grinder, oh gosh, 20 years ago, and I love it. And she's fantastic. And then go for ground coffee after that. Ground coffee is going to be your last choice. Although I just opened a new can of Costco coffee because I had like 3 cases of Costco coffee. I'm down to 1 case left because some of the others lost their taste. And this can that I opened was from 2019, and it tastes fine. So I don't understand, but ground coffee, you're never really 100% sure. But this 2019 can that I opened up over the weekend, it tastes fine. It's going to be good. Now, if you do get ground coffee, make sure that you have a vacuum seal container you can put it in so that it doesn't go stale quickly. So I have pressure sealed, vacuum sealed glass containers for my ground coffee, and then the third one is basically a pressure. It's a stainless steel canister, but I can push down on the top and it evacuates the air, so it kind of sucks it out. So that's a vacuum seal type of thing as well. If you do that, you can keep your ground coffee good. Yes, I touched my mouse instead of my pad on my computer again. So I'm going to try to scroll up, and we'll see what happens, so I can keep up with the comments. Hello, Andrew McCarthy. Good to see you. That's a new name. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me see who else. If it's the only coffee I have, I don't think I would care if it tastes like muddy water. Isn't that the truth? I can't tell you some of the coffee I've drank in the military. Okay. The last one we're going to talk about in this book before we move over to the Guerrilla Dispatch, and I'm really enjoying this book, by the way, is Communications and Monitoring List. And then he says, for details, see Chapter 9. We'll talk about that. When selecting radios, only buy models that will run on 12-volt DC power or rechargeable nickel metal hydride battery packs. I wholeheartedly agree. Focus on a couple things. Number one, if it has a USB rechargeable port, that's a good radio. Because remember, you can always get the crank emergency radios, and that's going to provide power. You can get a small solar battery pack, like Goal Zero has one. And I've shown you that, the one I have in previous videos. So that Goal Zero, I can plug in a radio I can plug in my cell phone. I can plug in all kinds of stuff and recharge it on that individual solar panel and charge whatever I want to. Same thing with that crank radio. So take a look. Make sure you get either rechargeable AA, AAAs, or that you have a direct USB connection where you can plug it into a solar panel or any other kind of recharger. Now with ARES is the the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, which is basically those of us in ham who volunteer to go out on emergencies and provide radio communications. You'll see FEMA in a hurricane situation. There might be a couple camps where they've got ARES working in North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Florida. They'll bring us in because our radios, for my radios, this is the standard. This is something else I do. On all my radios and all of my batteries, I put my call sign with that same pin that I do for my magazines. So like this one is my ham radio call sign. And then this one, this one has my GMRS call sign. So I always put, on my batteries, I always put my call sign so that if somebody borrows it, we know who it belongs to, right? And I get it back. But anyhow, this is the one that's rechargeable in a small charging stand. And when I put it in the charging stand, I can plug that charging stand into my solar system. So that's no problem at all. But I also have 3 additional battery packs, and they all take AA batteries, 6 AA batteries. So those 6 AA batteries, if I'm in an emergency situation and it doesn't take that much power to listen, it takes probably 10 times as much power to transmit. So as long as you're not transmitting, those 6 batteries will probably last you 4 or 5 hours. If you're transmitting, you're probably going to go down to 2 hours. Okay, so it all depends on whether you're transmitting or not. And then same thing. That's based off a 12-volt DC, and then same thing with the shortwave radios we have. Anything that's a shorter wave than 10 meter, which is basically VHF. So you're going to go down into, let's say, the 14 meter, 12 meter band, which is down in the 20s. Then you're going to also be on 12 volt DC power. So you're going to have some sort of a power converter for your HF equipment as well. As a secondary purchasing goal, buy spare radios of each type if you can afford them. And I do. So this is my radio that I use on a daily basis. There is a sister to this exactly like it in my Faraday bag. I think the only difference between this one and the other one, and now that I think about it, I need to fix that, is I updated this one. We have a new repeater for ARES. I have the new repeater frequency for ARES on this radio. I don't have it on the one that's in my Faraday bag. So I do need to get that plugged in. So that's that. Take care, Muskoka Oma. Please stay safe. Okay, and if you live in a far inland region, I recommend buying 2 or more 12-volt DC marine band radios. These frequencies will probably not be monitored in your region, leaving you an essentially private band to use. He's talking about individual to individual use in your group. So when I talk about individual to individual use in your group, I will tell you this is GMRS. So, I mean, we can turn this on. Channel mode. And so now I'm in channel mode, and I can go through a search on this, and we can probably sit here for an hour and not hear anything. So there's not that many radios that are going to be active in what will be available to you as far as GMRS, FRS. So in this one, this is the ham.
Channel mode. During an emergency. Let me let it breathe for a second.
So right now, what's going on is every Monday night at 8 o'clock, Aries has its training on the channel. So that's Aries training. That's the Aries channel that we're listening to on that channel. I've been tempted to change the time for this from 8 o'clock to a different time so that I could participate in that. But, we'll see what happens. But anyhow, that's pretty much it. So for monitoring and communications, I will tell you, I would get a radio. I would get a couple of radios. Do I have that one still here? No, that one's not still here. When we had our entire home alarm system went down, and they came out to look at it. And they said we had to replace the keypad. It was going to be $500 plus labor. I said, I can get another company to come in. They'll give me everything for free if I just sign a contract with them. So Guardian came back and said, hey, we'll replace everything in there and we'll charge you $295. And I said, well, what about the military discount? And they said, oh, okay, we'll give it to you for $195. So I got, motion detectors in 3 rooms. I've got 3 doors. I've got the windows covered. I've got everything covered for $195. No increase to my monthly payments or anything else. Well, in order to do that, because the motion detectors, because the motion detector is right there, you can see it right there. Okay, there we go. Because the motion detector is right up there, I had to clean this whole area behind me. This is my area, right? So my Bibles and everything I study with on a regular basis, and all my prayer books and reading books and study books and everything else, I keep all that there. And so I had to move everything, and so that he could get up there to mount that. As a matter of fact, if you notice, when I was sitting over here, I had a whole bunch of nutrient survival cans that were right here, and they aren't there anymore. All I have now is an angel and St. Francis of Assisi. So that whole area is now pretty clear. I just haven't refurbished everything. This is the dinner table. I've taken over it as my office. So, did you see my Windberg? So Helen and I, when we got married, between the two of us, we had every single Windberg print, Dalhart Windberg print there was. Some of them we even had duplicates because our taste in art were the same. This is her favorite. Let me see here. There we go. This is his brandy snifter and rose. And on the rose, there's a drop of water. And in the brandy snifter, he has a pane glass window reflection. And in that pane glass window reflection, he painted a reflection of himself. And some of the times when he does his paintings, he uses a single feather, I guess what you call it, on his paintbrush. So his paintbrushes, some of them only have like one thing on it. So that's how detailed he gets in his prints. But just Dalhart Windberg's the guy's name. Just unbelievable. And his studio is just right up the road, up here in Salado. So we've had the opportunity to go up there and get a couple limited edition prints. So just love his work. Just love his work. A lot of his stuff was open market. You can get, inexpensive prints from JCPenney's was one of the primary distributors back in the day. And, but just great. Okay. So we've covered, self-defense. We've covered, communications this evening. I was saying, if nothing else, get the radios and monitor them. Just listen to what other people are doing. Get a good multi-band receiver. Now, a good multi-band receiver, I want to say you probably want to start down in the middle frequencies. Remember that the AM commercial bands are very shortwave. Okay, so that's they start off. Let me see. Grab my cheat sheet here. I thought I had a band plan here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So AM frequencies are going to start off at 690 hertz. Okay. and they're going to go up to 1.6 kilohertz. So that's really a low frequency. So your AM radios that you listen to on the radio are really, really low. So you want to get that band because some of them may come up. You may be able to get a skip from another area, find out what's going on. Then you probably want to have shortwave, which is 3 to 30 megahertz. And then you probably want to have something where you can listen in FM from 30 megahertz up to 3,000 megahertz, 3 gigahertz. You may get some police scanners and things like that in that area. That's going to be FM. So 30 megahertz is the cutoff, pretty much. Anything above 30 megahertz typically is going to be frequency modulated. Anything below 30 megahertz is going to be amplitude modulated. So if you notice in your car, you have two choices: AM, amplitude modulated, that's going to be down, very low frequency, and then FM, which is going to be VHF, very high frequency. So, those are your two things that you're going to be primarily listening to, and just get an idea about what's going on. Try to gather information. Remember that if you don't have a lot of information, people have a tendency to panic. People have a tendency to panic with information, but the more information that you, the prepper, has, the more information that you can control, so you know when things might return back to normal, might not return back to normal. You can get a better estimate of how you're going to survive the whatever the event is. But get a good monitoring radio. I forget who it was I was watching a video of this morning, and he recommended, even, you know how I am about barter, he recommended going to Walmart or any place like that, and they have these cheapo 2 FRS, family radio service walkie-talkies, that they say long range on them, and typically you're going to get about 2 to 5 miles out of those if you're lucky. But anyhow, he said to get the 2 for $20 FRS radios. Just keep them, because all you have to do is plug the battery pack in and boom, they're ready to go. And they're pre-marked channels and everything else. So you might be able to use those as barter items with somebody. I'm not into buying things strictly for barter. I like to buy things that I would use, and then if I don't need it, I can barter it out. But yes, I saw that. They were thinking about doing away with AM in automobiles. But sometimes that's FM has a lot shorter range than AM does. When I was growing up in El Paso, after the sun went down, 1590 KINT, 1590 was the radio station we listened to, or either that or that was the rock station. Either that or we would listen to KHEY Radio 690, which was the country western radio. But after the sun went down, between about 7 and 10, we listened to KHEY. And then about 10 o'clock, you could pick up KOMA 1490, I believe, out of Oklahoma City. So we could listen to the skip from Oklahoma City all the way to El Paso. And so that's what we listened to up after about 9, 10 o'clock when the propagation was right. We could listen to KOMA. So that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, one of the DJs from El Paso, from KINT, went across the border to Juarez and opened up his own rock station. That was XROK, X-Rock, XROK, in Juarez, Mexico. And I mean, that was a powerful station. You could hear it all over the Western U.S., but it was great. Let me see. Why would... I'm going to mess with my mouse, so forgive me. And it's doing the entire screen instead of letting me go to this Tuck by V comment I wanted to catch here. There we go. Okay, so it was Shenanigans said, why would they want to get rid of AM? I had heard that too. It's our government, right? Why do they do a lot of things? K plus. Okay, plus. Okay, plus. When listening to FM, you lose signal when you go under. Yeah, because FM is a line of sight signal. It doesn't bounce. So I don't know if you know it or not, but the original radio was called a Victrola. And then when they built a mobile Victrola, one that would go in a motor vehicle, then there was this one company that specialized in making motor Victrolas, and it shortened its name and became Motorola. So Motorola, that's how they got their start, was making nothing but car radios. Motorola, motor Victrolas. There we go. Well, anything to include this one. Okay. So anytime you're dealing with FM, you're dealing with line of sight. So if you have a very congested area or a very wooded area, then your signal is going to be absorbed by all the things that are around you. The horizon is about 12 miles away. So if I am on water and use this and no obstructions, I can go out about 12 miles. Okay. Doesn't matter how much power I push to it. If there's, it only goes what it can see. If you want to try to bounce it off things, that's where the power comes in. But anyhow, this one has less power, and it's going to basically have the same distance, different frequencies. This one's easier to use. This one's a channel. This is the GMRS. This one, you have to program the channels in. Now, I will tell you, I have programmed into this radio where I can receive and transmit on these frequencies. Okay, that is possible to do. But this one, you have to spend an awful lot of time programming it. This one, it's a plug and play. Okay, so the GMRS FRS for you and for me is probably the best one to go with because it's so easy for everybody to do. Yeah, Kaylin says in Iowa she can pick up Canada some nights on AM, and that's very, very common because you're going to get skipped with AM. AM has both an air wave and a ground wave. So let me see if I can get a piece of paper here where I can do this. There we go. Okay. So here's your antenna. Okay. When it transmits, I need something a little bit bigger, a little bit broader. Okay, let me get this. Okay. So here's your antenna. Okay. When you transmit, it has a sky wave that goes up like this. It hits the troposphere, the ionosphere, and then it starts bouncing back to Earth. Okay, so this is your air wave coming back down to Earth. Okay, now it also has a ground wave, and it looks something like this. Okay, so you can, as long as you're in this ground wave area, typically you can hear the signal. So in between is what's called a dead zone. So that's where you don't hear the ground wave and you aren't far enough away from that AM signal to receive the first sky wave that's bouncing off the ionosphere. Okay, so this is your dead zone, but with AM you can get both the ground wave and the air wave. Now, a lot of times what hams will do is we will purposefully aim our antenna up so that this ground wave, it's called near vertical incident sky wave. So vertical incident is that when you're hitting at a perpendicular angle to the ionosphere, it goes straight through. It doesn't bounce. So you want to have just a little bit of an angle off of it so it doesn't go through and then it comes down, and that can cover this area. But what happens is when you go with NVIS, you cut out this part. Okay, so you're going to have, this part's going to be a lot more coverage over a greater area, but you're not going to have the skip. Okay, now skip is what enables us to talk to Germany. When I was in Monterey, California, I had a conversation with a guy in Havana, Cuba. I mean, you can get really good global sphere of communications if you use AM skiff, which is shortwave. So that's why listening to shortwave became so popular early on, is because you could listen to hams or even to shortwave broadcast stations overseas, and you can hear the bounce, okay, coming into the U.S. Same thing going when I left Field Station Augsburg and was coming back to the States. There was a pastor in Alaska that wanted me to come read the Bible over his airway. He had a radio station in Alaska, and he was transmitting into Siberia and Kamchatka, and wanted me to read the Bible in Russian to Russian people who could monitor that with their radios in the far east of Russia. So a little bit of radio theory there. Okay, gosh, I will be back for sure next Monday. I will try to let you know before then what was going to happen. Tomorrow night is National Night Out. I strongly encourage you to participate in that if you have, or your neighborhood may have a different night. But the first Tuesday in October is typically National Night Out. Go out and meet your neighbors. I'm going out because I have a petition. Our board has not had a meeting now for a year. And so I've got all the state laws and the bylaws of our own board that say that they have to meet regularly to have decisions. So I'm going to have a petition at our neighborhood night out tomorrow night for all of our neighbors to sign, asking our board to please have regular quarterly meetings. But that's how that goes. Okay, let me see where we are as far as chat. Maybe I can catch up. I'm touching my mouse in case I lose you. Yes, Tech by V. That's called Near Vertical Incident Skywave, NVIS. It's where you're shooting up almost to where it breaks through the ionosphere. Thank you, NC Farmer. It is. I'm feeling a lot better. And, gosh, I am so happy I'm here. Every year in October on Facebook, a friend of, no, it's on YouTube. A guy that I served with back in 1977 puts out an in memoriam. And so it's for Field Station Augsburg, everybody who worked listening to the Russians, Bulgarians, Hungarians, Romanians, Polish, Czech, all those linguists who worked at Field Station Augsburg listening during the Cold War, listening to the bad guys. And so every year he puts out a video of all the people who have passed away in the last year. And so what started out as a 5-minute video, this is probably the 12th year he's done this, 12th or 15th year. It started out as a 15-minute video, just a couple seconds per 5 minutes, a couple seconds, 15 seconds, 20, 30 seconds per person. Yeah, last night it was an hour and 5 minutes long. Had a hard time getting to sleep because of all the good people that I know who have passed away. But the good news, the good news for me, I don't know about you. The good news for me is I'm still here. And to take a look at all the quality of people and all the knowledge and all the great memories, and that's these guys here, that's these guys here. Trick 3, Field Station Augsburg. Let me see. So we were Army Security Agency, and then in 1977 they merged us with MI, and we became INSCOM, which is the Intelligence and Security Command. So, just that memoriam's, I didn't get much sleep last night, just remembering good old times with fantastic people who aren't here anymore. So thank you all for being here. Remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. And before you go, please remember that the Lord said, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly, and of course, grant us peace. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening, and thank you for being here. I'll let you know what's going to be happening as far as the schedule here in the very near future. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.